How's it going, bros? My name's PewDiePie! Hello, Earthlings. I'm Fallout Boy, and today we're gonna be reviewing the new Robert Neutron sound album, Mania! A Fallout Boy LP. Fallout Boy is a band from Chicago comprising bassist-lyricist Pete Wentz, vocalist-composer Patrick Stump, lead guitarist Joe Troman, and drummer Andy Hurley. They were originally part of the 2000s pop-punk movement. They played the Warped Tour twice. On their fourth album, Folia 2, they subdued the punk elements of their sound, delivering their most eclectic album to date. And then Save Rock and Roll went a step further by a near abandonment of traditional rock elements altogether. But the quality of the songs did not drop at all. A side note about Save Rock and Roll, if your favorite song from that album is Rat-a-Tat, you might like the Sugar Cubes. Anyway, like I said, the quality of the songs didn't drop at all on Save Rock and Roll, but I can't say the same about the next album, American Beauty, American Psycho. And more so than Patrick's desire to make it a musically homogeneous album, what really let ABAP down for me was the lyrics. Aside from Novocaine and The Kids Aren't Alright, the lyrics were strikingly generic and pretty much devoid of everything that permeated them on the first 5 albums and set Pete Wentz apart from his contemporaries, even the equally verbose Ryan Ross and Gerard Way. Most of ABAP's lyrics might have worked better if they were sung by Ed Sheeran or Adam Levine or Dan Reynolds, or Rihanna, even. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about Mania. Let's get to that. According to Pete, this is the correct track order. And I highly encourage everyone watching this, and all of your Youngblood friends, to use it when you listen to the album. It just might change your perception of it if you've been listening to it in the other way. Anyway, let's get to the songs. Track 1 is Stay Frosty Royal Milk Tea. When I read the title, it almost immediately made me think of Dan Behar from Destroyer and the New Pornographers. Maybe Pete has taken a few notes from the Behar school of lyrics. It's got a wonderfully dark, jittery sort of EDM opening, and when I first heard the lyrics, I was like, yes, the old Pete is back, baby! With that line, I'm about to go Tanya Harding on the whole world's knee. And later on in the lead into the chorus, the line, are you smelling that shit? Eau de résistance. Where was that French accent when they were talking about Folia 2? But yeah, everything about this song is great, and it makes a great introduction to the album, if nothing else because of its brevity. It's the shortest track on the album. And it leads us right into the last of the real ones. This is an upbeat pop love song, but I love the little Stumpian kinks that Patrick throws into the melody and the way he sings it. Plus, the lyrics are rife with Wentzness. I'm a collapsing star with tunnel vision, but only for you. And, of course, the most memorable line in the song, I wonder if your therapist knows everything about me. And the title, The Last of the Real Ones, and its paraphrasation in the chorus, you're the last of a dying breed, it does seem like a classic over-the-top Pete Wentz statement. And it's followed by another single, Hold Me Tight or Don't, a song about being hugged by Schrodinger's cat. Musically, it sounds a lot like Maroon 5. Not old Maroon 5, current Maroon 5. Moves like Jagger, Sugar, Maroon 5. But it has a couple nice Wentzian twists in the lyrics, obviously the title, Hold Me Tight, or Don't, and the word confidant in the second verse is a very Pete word. Track 4 is called Wilson, and it is one of the best singles from the album. Like a smash hit that turned a decade old recently, it's based on a sample of Straight to Hell by The Clash, and I really love the opening lines. They're just oozing with Pete's personality. I was gonna say something that would solve all our problems, but then I got drunk and I forgot what I was talking about. And then the second verse is just brutally honest. When I say I'm sorry I'm late, I wasn't showing up at all. I mean, I wasn't planning on showing up at all. It becomes really clear to me they're poking fun at emos when you get to that Wednesday Addams quote, which takes up most of the chorus. You know, the one about the darker color than black. Track 5 is called Church, and surprise of surprises, lots of Catholic imagery here, and a choir sample. And it's a song in mixed meters to boot. It starts in 3/4, but switches to 4/4 one bar before the first verse. And other than that, it's musically a classic Patrick belter, but nothing extraordinary lyrically, except that the themes are continued in the next song, Heaven's Gate. Although that's nothing terribly new. Fob have done it in the past, the way they connected $20 Nosebleed with West Coast Smoker, and possibly Wham's before that, and the way they connected Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying to XO. Patrick recorded a lot of his vocals for this album with no one else around, so he could be more fearless with his improvisation. And boy, does it ever show on Heaven's Gate. He's channeling his inner Aretha Franklin here. I don't know how else to put it. I'm also getting a really strong What a Catch Donnie vibe here, but injected with a whole lot of extra gospel. While there isn't much humor in the lyrics, something about them still says Pete to me. Especially the line about, if I'm not on the guest list, would you save me a wristband? And it's another definite highlight of the album. Some of Patrick's best vocal moments are in the second half of the album. Even on my least favorite song, Champion. It was co-written by Sia, and lyrically it's kind of a cross between We Are the Champions by Queen and Centuries. But it's got a lot more attitude than the latter, and it's way funkier than either. As with Centuries, the lyrics don't stand out terribly much. They're not quite as bland as the ones in Centuries. I do get a lot of interesting quotes that I'm sure other young bloods will love, and I can definitely appreciate. But I do absolutely love Patrick's vocal riffing over the last chorus of the song. You don't really hear Patrick improvising over the chorus of these songs very much. I think it's kind of the first time he's done it since Folie à Deux. Sunshine Riptide is a new thing for Fob, a reggae song featuring Nigerian reggae singer Burna Boy, and I love what he brings to the song in the second verse, and how when you hit the chorus again, Patrick's voice bounces off of his. I can find no fault with this song musically and lyrically. And now we come to the best song on the album, track 9, Young and Menace. It's got what every great song has. It sounds familiar, but you can't quite put your finger on what it sounds like. It's definitely the most unique song they've done since Folie à Deux. They have referenced a lot of old R&B and soul in their back catalog, as well as, of course, Heaven's Gate. You know, a couple songs I've already mentioned, What a Catch Donnie, $20 Nosebleed, This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race. Pretty much anything that has a big vocal range for Patrick, he injects a lot of soul into. But this is the first time they've really incorporated a more modern R&B sound into a song. And yet, buried beneath the dubstep breakdown of a chorus, which you can't ignore because it's the chorus, somewhere beneath that, I'm getting a few traces of the old Fall Out Boy, as people like to call it. Something about Young and Menace gives me an old school Fall Out Boy vibe. This is also the farthest into an album they have pushed a lead single since the Carpal Tunnel of Love. And it really works as an opening track in the current digital track order. I hope they someday open a set with it, or at least an encore. But just opening the whole show with it would be bloody amazing. In my head, I always see someone kicking down a door when Patrick says the word menace, and then it just falling with a boom as the chorus crashes in. But again, the reason I prefer this track listing to the one that begins with Young and Menace is because it's followed by Champion, which just makes it seem like a red herring. And then you get Stay Frosty after that, which, as I said before, due to its brevity, sounds like it should be the first song. But back to Young and Menace, I also love it when halfway through the chorus, Andy plays a fill on the front end of a bar instead of the back end. Usually you play a drum fill on the back end of a bar, which leads into beat 1, but he actually starts the fill on beat 1. So it kind of leaves a giant hole where you had been set up to expect this big followed by the pitch-shifted vocals. And lyrically, this song is the clearest presentation of the concept of mania on the album. Every other line in it has some synonym for going crazy in it. Going too fast for way too long. Losing my mind. The psych assessment. Flying off the deep end. And of course, Oops, I Did It Again. The Britney Spears reference. And all this is perfectly reflected in the crazy music. And then as an added bonus, on the last chorus, you get some more of Patrick just wailing his heart out behind the pitch-shifted samples of his voice, which is an extra auditory treat. And the last song is Bishop's Knife Trick, a nice epic yet reflective closer, another Dan Behar-esque title, also a reference to the film Aliens. This is another title that made me just think of Dan Behar when I read it. And it's also the third, I believe the third Fall Out Boy song to lack an apostrophe after Sugar We're Going Down and the Take Over the Break's Over. Musically, this is the most clean guitar I have ever heard on a Fall Out Boy song, which I think gives it its special characteristic that it makes it another song I cannot fault at all, but can't quite put my finger on why. What I can articulate is that this is definitely their second best album closer after Save Rock and Roll. So all in all, I know that some people hate this album. If you did hate this album, and you listened to it in the order that begins with Young and Menace and Champion, try listening to the songs in this order and see if your opinion changes. I'm dying to hear it, leave it in the comments. I'm definitely in the love camp on this album. It's a welcome return for diversity after ABAP. Although I might be kind of a hypocrite, because I didn't actually listen to ABAP in one go. I just listened to every song. I don't know, I naively thought it wouldn't affect the experience too much because it was supposed to be a homogeneous album. I know Patrick and Pete are big fans of the album as an entity, as am I. I am definitely liking this album a lot, especially the second half. Again, that's my opinion. I'm dying to hear yours. Leave them in the comments. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, bang the doldrums, get busy living or get busy dying, save rock and roll. This is Neutron signing off. Go forth and be a menace.